So a lot on the rush word. I've actually really liked the rush word list that we've seen, and rush word has been having a good amount of success, even with not that many new tools in some of them. We're still seeing a lot of new tools in others.
Yep. All right. Well, here we go. The game has started. The bets fight to determine who goes to the top 4. Who is just narrowly missing out, wondering what if. Opening mulligan. Start off with Luna, an aggressive Fauna Power play just within seconds. Has the Incanter's Flow and the Arcane Select ready to go. I've seen this happen before. Everything looks very, very good on Mage's side. Oh, yep. Too good on Mage's side. There's a refreshing Spring Water as well.
Looks fantastic. Has got some good minion pressure to follow it up too. Worm Reaver can be very difficult to deal with, especially early on.
The Wayflight can potentially counter his established tempo. Find brain, or does she find Brain Freeze rather? She does not. And Fled, he can just buff and push.
You fight me, you get
this is very clean. Yeah, very clean.
Yeah.
The Rune Door. The Firebrand, we kind of mentioned it when we saw it earlier, is just one of the best minions you could possibly get. You can see Fled pretty unhappy about it.
Turn it up.
Mind Runner could be big this game.
Yes, it could. It could. Mind Runner Lucia, she gives you a situation where when she flips, all of a sudden you can ditch the burn from your opponent. Or even just like, you know, play Ring Toss when they really need it to stabilize their board state when it's really cheap. There's a lot of different ways where Mind Runner Lucia ends up becoming surprisingly clutch. Oh, wow. And now Luna has the opportunity to play the Refreshing Spring Water into an Apexis Blast.
And this is where it starts to get scary for the Priest is not just the burn spells by themselves, but the recurring damage that those minions represent. I said it earlier, but you almost never win Priest versus Mage as the Mage without getting some type of minion damage in along the way. And that's always been the case. They just have too much healing and too much minion pressure themselves, or tempo if you just let them have the board the entire game. But a nice little clear.
It did cost a coin, which could end up becoming, you know, something that he might need later on. But you can see Fled's already like, oh, geez, Worm Reaver, after I just used Zyrella, this is already a bad spot to be in. Luna considering if it's supposed to be Astromancer Solarian. She does end up picking it, drawing 2 cards at the cram session. Not find the Brain Freeze to close it out.
Still, the Mana Worms are very threatening, and Luna did just see a board sweep being used, and there's a limited amount, especially with this early with this much mana limitation.
Yeah, that being said, Holy Nova in the hand is more than enough for Flood to clear right now. So. Does Luna use any other cards here? She could make hand space the Shooting Star to try to play Fauna Power, but I feel like it just fills up her hand and doesn't really get anything done. Yeah. Fled picks up the Venomous Scorpid. We're talking about Holy Nova, but that does leave Fled with 3 more mana, even to the point where he could, say, play Palm Reading first.
Yeah.
Looks like Flood was eyeing the idea of playing a Soul Mirror, which I feel like is the same thing as Holy Nova, but he gets Astromancer Solarian Prime in the deck. So that's certainly an interesting thought.
Maybe feels like at some point he's going to need it, but I really don't think you do, and I'd rather have minions stick onto the board. I guess you would have had the Zyrilla stick in any case, but I don't think he really needs Solarian Prime in order to win this game or have a chance to win this game. I think he's perfectly fine as is.
Well, it's starting to become increasingly more difficult to guarantee anything as the second Encounter's Flow comes down for Luna. And now all of a sudden, you start to enter a tier where the burn could even be played successfully in the same turn, right? You're talking about Fireballs become 2 mana, Mask becomes 5 mana. You could squeeze in 3 of those all in one turn if you set up spell damage ahead of time with, anything like a Imprisoned Phoenix.
Yep.
You're starting to enter one-turn kill territory.
I wonder.
Some of the burn has already been picked up, but there's still plenty in the deck that's going to have that double discount. Okay, that was Netherwind Portal and Mirror Entity.
Interesting.
The 2 secrets picked up.
My shield.
The portal summons a Defender of Argus.
Flood just has ways to keep kind of like building up board with a bunch of weenies. And honestly, that's super annoying for Mage to have to deal with because they don't want to like start throwing burn because at any point Apotheosis could threaten. It makes Mask awkward. It's like they're both just kind of fighting for board for quite some time until you get to that like tension in the late game where it's like, okay, there's this much burn left, and then what? What can the priest do? Can the priest find a way to out heal it and math out what it's like?
I wonder.
Evolving
we don't-
missiles there.
The Evolved Missiles look really good. Luna gonna go for the guarantee. Then the Scorpion with the Brain Freeze, then can use the Mask of Cthulhu for the full 10. Kind of debate if she even wanted to use the Shooting Star. I'm not sure if the 1 damage really matters. I don't think so.
No. Shooting Star could be a pretty big deal, especially with spell damage on the board to clean up the next wave.
Oh, Fled thinking about Mind Render this turn? Says, okay, she's clearly gearing up for burn. Gonna be a little bit disappointed. I mean, there's the Fireball you can throw out at least.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a benefit of triggering the Mind Render Lucia.
Gonna try and pick the worst one, but honestly, there isn't really a worst one.
Quickly.
They're all like decent. Just don't pick Mizaki, I guess, is the name of the game there.
Right. And how does Luna go about this? Luna could say, for example, play the South Sea Scoundrel, which, funny enough, would end up being something that she can pick to put in her hand for the future turns.
Mm-hmm.
Could also like do something such as Raise Dead to like minimize the effect of it. So you could like Raise Dead now.
For you.
Okay.
Solarian Prime, right?
Yes.
Yep, Fled. It's like, yeah, that's a big one.
Wow.
And now Renew can give. I mean, I don't know if maybe just another Fireball. I don't know. Did you cast it immediately?
Time runs out on me. I wonder.
Yeah, I think you want to dump the Renew no matter what, just if any case for the healing.
Yes.
Like to dump the healing. Okay.
Okay. And a Biscuit and play more cards.
Yeah.
I ran out of time.
Could have conjured Mana Biscuit and then played the Mana Biscuit right away just to dump the last card.
Yeah, I think she was pressured by time, and it felt like the animation might have been something that was risky. So it just looked like she just went for a dump at the very end.
Yeah.
But regardless, I am intrigued by the Solarian Prime. The Kendra Mana Biscuit will only really matter if there's like a secret dynamic that needs to be triggered. But for now, it's not super impactful. Okay, Scorpion. Thinking about starting off with the Scorpion. I was kind of thinking, I was like, you know, considering whether or not we wanted to just remove this board because I'm worried about dying to the Solarian Prime on the other side.
Yeah.
Looks like that's the case. Soul Mirror comes down here for Fled. I liked any play that included removing all of Luna's board.
Still scary, though.
Still scary because I'm pretty sure it's prime time. Let's go.
Okay, Counterspell, reasonable. Conjure Mana Biscuit, not good.
Oh, Mana Biscuit actually works with the Ring Toss.
Okay, yeah. And then 2 Arcane Intellects. I mean, that's not bad.
That's
Our draw
excellent.
was- Okay, 2 more. Yeah.
That was huge. Oh my goodness. Luna's Astromancer Solarian Prime just ends up drawing the remainder of her deck, basically. Combustion. Arcane,
And then you
or rather Runed Orb.
and then you end with a Pexus Blast because the burn is more important than
Runs out on me.
Yep. The Ring Toss.
than the secrets at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to fit it all in.
Graybow.
And last 2 cards remaining are Fireball and Mask of Cthulhu. So the burn does not stop there for Luna. Like guaranteed lethal next turn almost, it feels like.
Yeah, not enough heal from Fled. Hysteria clears off most of this. Potentially all of it. Yeah. But I mean, Fled knows that if there's a single fireball, yeah, that should do it. I mean, lots of bird, plenty to go. And that's going to do it for game number 1. Spell Mage gets there again versus Priest. And it just feels like the Priest can't handle the pressure that Mage throws its way. That's going to be the first game with its best of 5, and now Mage is through. Mage has been crowned by Luna as the deck of the format before the expansion dropped. I wonder if that's exactly how she feels anyway, saying like, you know what, new cards are fun and all, but still, planning Kana's flow into card draw into stuff is good.
Yep, and it's going to continue to be good, and it will be good for quite some time, especially, you know, once even more good mage spells get printed, get released, that also benefit very highly from being reduced in cost. Granted, that's pretty much every spell. It'll keep getting better and better. It's just been kind of a staple, right? Most of the players that are having success in these playoffs across every region, one common theme is that they all have Mage in their lineup. So, gets across the board. And again, I said that's a pivotal win for Luna because that is, I think, the weakest deck across the board in her lineup versus Fled's lineup. If you look at just the matchup straight across, the Spell Mage is the one, at least on paper, that has the weakest overall matchups.
All right, well, let's see. Once more, previously, upon the last time we saw the Death Metal Demon Hunter, it struggled to get a single win and ended up getting swept. But for this series against Fled's lineup, maybe another shot to prove itself, because I've been really feeling like this deck is onto something. Maybe not even necessarily this iteration of it, but there's some kind of Death Rattle Demon Hunter deck that's very real and strong.
We'll see. I'm still not sold on it, Dan. I'm still not sold on this Demon Hunter.
Why aren't you? What's wrong with this Demon Hunter? What did it do to you, DJ?
It got 3-0'd. That's what it did to me. Didn't even do that to me. Did that to Luna. But I do think that it does have some game, right? I mean, you said it earlier. Luna was like one turn away for 3 games in a row for winning. Like, that's pretty insane when you think about it. It just took like one extra thing to go her way, and it would have been a completely different series.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, the deck did not impress in the previous time. But to be fair, the way Nalgadon was drawn, I don't even know any deck that could really beat it unless it was doing the exact same thing, but slightly.
Oh, you're right.
Let's say that. Nalgadon would have to be a very weak player to not advance after that. Like, he did a good job, of course, piloting. I'm just saying that sometimes Hearthstone plays itself, and it felt like some of those games, a lot of those games, were autopilot zone for Nalgadon.
Yeah.
That's not to take away from some of the other things that he did right. You know, for example, Nalgadon, you know, he had to bring the right lineup, and also there were some tough plays that he needed to turn things around or like ensure that he didn't give away his lead, because we've seen the opposite side of it where some players are really ahead and then they just throw stuff away. So, you know, it's not to take anything away from Nalgadon, but sometimes you gotta call it what it is. Hearthstone's a game, it's a card game, and sometimes the cards fall into place.
So this will be the real test.
This is a real test. Now, this time for real. Luna's just doing it for the views.
Yep. Just to paint this Death Rattle Demon Hunter as the underdog deck.
Yeah.
And then reel everybody in, and then boom, get them right at the end. You think you counting the Death Rattle Demon Hunter out? Well, here you go. Here's the greatest series of Death Rattle Demon Hunter games you've ever seen in your life, which isn't that many because it's kind of a new deck.
Yo. Star Student Stelina. I'm looking at that. Right now, there's two things to consider for Luna's hand. One is the Inquisitor that got discounted by the Fell Screamer. I mean, it's really powerful.
I grow
the second is the Skull Gul'dan position and how she can start leaning towards that. She ends up picking an Outcast card that she wants to play now that she can't play Fish Flyer, which means that she can't set up for the Skull in 3 turns from now, which is kind of annoying. The other side of it could be that Luna just holds on to the Outcast card, not play it, bank that discount, play another Illidari Studies, and then go for like a Skull Gul'dan in combination of a couple of cards later on. Because you don't have to use the Illidari Studies effect immediately.
No, you don't.
fresh spell steam.
No.
Okay.
I think the upside of like holding on to the Outcast card is only good if like you're trying to set up for a Skull, but the Skull's not in an Outcast position, so seems like a very difficult task.
The only thing is that now we lost the discount on the Inquisitor.
True.
Pretty big bummer.
Yeah, and I think maybe Luna didn't realize that was a demon, or it didn't cross her mind at first.
Yeah.
'Cause that is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Oh, and I think that's why it may have caught the mana by surprise, because she hovered over the Razor Board, realized she had the mana to play the Fish Flyer instead, because Razor Board doesn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Well, the good news is that she has a pretty decent play. The bad news is she doesn't have a way to answer this Mage Scribe, which is very quickly getting out of control.
Demons? Demons.
There's actually just... I'm looking, there's not really even a way in the deck to kill it, except for Archdruid Neralex into Dream. Or ignoring it with a bunch of Death Rattle minions.
Demons.
Jeez. I feel like we're in the territory where we have to ignore it and hope that they don't have the apotheosis to punish us.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. All in all, just looking pretty rough. Unless fled accidentally against all odds. Nah. Okay, this is 9 points of healing. Zarella will clear whatever can come out. Still more tempo being generated for fled. Having trouble finding a way that Luna can kill this. Glide?
Oh.
Restart?
That actually makes a lot of sense. And it's particularly punishing for a deck like Priest that often tries to play for like a mountain amount of discounts with things like that palm reading or like Draconic Study. It just kind of like messes up the way they wanted to curve things out in general. In this case, it would be disrupting the palm reading.
Never catch me.
Oh, okay. Well, Luna figures that the card from her deck is better.
We'll cut right to the chase.
This is dude, this is a little hard to watch. Just seeing the one Honest Mage Scribe just go unchecked this entire game.
Yeah. And it's not going to stop there.
No, Mutinous, if it eats the Inquisitor, that's just GG.
It hits Inquisitor. Okay. I mean, it's still just one less resource and one more big minion.
Yo, okay.
But at least Luna has a chance now. Okay, skull at the top. Okay, Neralex, there it is.
In my folly.
Yeah, Neralex is good.
Chaos.
It's a good start.
Let's dream.
Yeah. It's a start. Kind of thinking Spectral Delinquent, you at least get the rush from the renowned performers, so you don't need to.
Well,
the Delinquent takes turn to set up.
I think she's thinking about whether or not she wants the Felsteel Executioner to be corrupted or be played as a minion.
Oh, interesting. I think you would want to be a weapon in almost every scenario here.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if you ever wanted to be a minion in this spot, considering that the weapon's a lot harder for the priest to stop.
Yeah.
Fled, of course, I guess wrapping? Or doing the voiceover lines of Mutinous.
I still play with sounds, and I don't hear the sounds of our broadcast, so I don't even know what muteness sounds like. And don't you dare tell me, just like another Murloc, because each Murloc has their own beautiful, unique voice line.
Yeah, it's yes, I agree. Very it's very fishy. Sounds very fishy. Sounds very like underwater gargling of water. Ooh, N'Zoth. I mean, this sets up for good turns. Fair Awakens is not exactly what I was looking for. Oof.
Yeah, oof is right.
Also worth noting, Luna's at 10 life. So a trade onto this Honest Mage Scribe with the weapon is as close as it gets. And if Fled sees a single point of damage, game's over.
Which is very difficult, actually.
I was thinking South Sea Scoundrel to potentially do that if you draw something that can deal damage, but I don't think there's that many sources either from Luna's deck. The Fellscream Executioner.
Oh, there you go. Tusk Piercer also would have done it.
True. Oh, Talon?
Okay.
So, Ysera Awakens, Talon Fordring.
This is not what we stood for.
Against all odds, and then it corrupts the Fellsteel Executioner. Bada bing, bada boom. That'll do it.
There you go. Game number 2 over to Fled. The struggles of the Death Rattle Demon Hunter continue. 4-game losing streak with this deck from Luna. Not promising, TJ. Not promising at all.
Nah, it's looking pretty brutal. Looking pretty brutal. That's a tough one. Priest gets an early Onyx Mage Scribe, sticks a bunch of buffs on it. I mean, outside of, like I said, Narlex into Dream, Death Rattle Demon Hunter just doesn't have hard removal. It relies on being ahead on board and having this effect where they have like a sticky board full of minions every single turn. You can never quite kill anything. But just one big thing super early in the game, forget about it. Nothing's going to happen. So it ties up the series 1-1. And the Demon Hunter still looming over everybody's head, it feels like at this stage. Can Luna find a win with it? Again, the ultimate underdog story. Luna's crafting this. This is purposeful.
Yeah, that's right. Luna was trying to set this all up for a dramatic comeback, but it's certainly making it very exciting. We'll see. Fled does have the OTK Demon Hunter. I haven't actually seen that matchup much on ladder so far. It feels like most people who play the Demon Hunter is playing the Death Rattle package. And is switching to her Control Warrior, giving the Death Rattle Demon Hunter a little bit extra breathing room. Doesn't want to string together the losses in a row. But I will say that the Control Warrior has some pretty good game plan. I am interested by the dynamic that it plays with the OTK Demon Hunter, because it does feel like at times you're just left hoping that you can survive. But there's other things that you can do to help influence that, and there's ways for you to kind of navigate that matchup in a weird way with Bulwark of Azeroth and even the South Sea Scoundrel that can really throw a couple of wrench into the plans of those decks. So I'm pretty curious about what Fled's strategy is against a Control Warrior with a deck like that.
Yeah, the thing about it is with like OTK Demon Hunter, your breakpoints are insane. Against the Control Warrior should be fine, I think. But against the Death Rattle Demon Hunter, it's like you never have a fully empty board. At least it seems. There's always going to be something there that's going to keep hitting you. And those setup turns just seem like they'd become more difficult and more difficult the longer time passes. But we'll see. Maybe we'll get that matchup. Flood's going to queue up the Rush Warrior. So it's going to be Rush Warrior versus Control Warrior. This one is, I think, has potentially gotten a little bit better for Rush Warrior just because some of the new fancy tools that they have. Crush is just extra damage, right? Recurring damage, 10 damage over 5 turns. Mutinous could get a pretty big minion from your opponent's side of the board or from your opponent's hand, which might be a big disruption or at least be a big minion that puts some attention. I don't know. I still think that Control Warrior is incredibly favored, but maybe it'll be a little bit closer.
All right, well, here we go. Game number 3. Warrior versus Warrior. You heard the breakdown from TJ a little bit. It's Gonna be really hard for Fled to piece together something meaningful. Look at him keeping Troublemaker. Maybe the first time I've ever seen that.
I guess it's necessary to win the game, but that's kind of funny. Like, you're gonna need that damage at some point. It's just you don't usually see it kept. You just try and pick an early curve and then hope it comes along with it. But I guess Fled already has a pretty decent early curve, so it's not that big of a deal if he has to wait in order to play this Troublemaker. He also has Mutinous too. Probably won't be able to hit the Crash, but could hit the Zog, which would be pretty massive.
I mean, everything is coming up great for Fled. Kept only the Gnarg and the Troublemaker, and then hit the 2, 3, 4. And yet, despite all that, still lots of armor coming in, making it difficult for Fled.
Weapons for my master!
I'm not too young to fight.
It's going to be about having multiple pretty big threats stick for many turns. I mean, Luna does have a handful of minions. That's a Silas as well. This is a Rakara sticking, and I think she has to pull the trigger on Rancor here, because if she doesn't, the Rakara is going to get out of range, as well as the bumper cars of the Heart of Khadun for next turn. So, not the most efficient use, but necessary.
Fled taking, I think, 10 seconds collectively for his turn across the first 4 here. Everything seems to just be smooth sailing on his end. Heart of Cthulhu set everything up. I think Fled was maybe anticipating, like, oh, maybe a minefield or something. 2 Troublemakers. That's a 7 into an 8. It just has to essentially put together 2 turns of whatever and hope that the Troublemakers can stick. That said, Luna has Crash coming down. I mean, Crash is just a lot of stall, a lot of armor. 8 armor you gain on top of a weapon.
Cool.
Jeez. Mutinous.
Oh, Nazar! Oh,
So big.
I mean, that's like the first like really big Mutinous we've seen, right? It feels like every time Mutinous is, we're like, oh, it could be huge here. Nah, it wasn't huge, but I guess it was okay. Like, that's just been what we've resigned to, pretty much. But that was huge.
Right.
Zoth, one of the big late game win conditions. Luna really running low on resources here, which I think is the big thing. And Fled is positioning pretty well around Silas, just straight up Silas. Yeah, no, this is nearly perfect.
Wow. Coin Mutinous. I kind of thought that Fled was setting up for the Troublemaker, but timing of the Mutinous was so well planned out for, and now Fled on his way to winning game 3 so far. He's certainly in the advantage right now. Luna looking for any possible way that she could squeeze out of this situation, because she did gain the armor, not have enough to shield slam anything. But he's nothing super impactful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big issue still there.
Oh my goodness. Parade leaders, Darkmoon Riders, Runthaw comes into the hand. It's Runthaw almost every day of the week here, it feels like. I mean, there is a little bit of merit to talk about the Parade Leader, because it does clear off Actually, it does clear off the rest of the board. Maybe it isn't the Overlord Runthok.
Here for a good time.
I think Flight can need some conclusion.
Good time.
Yeah. Try and clear these things off. I mean, this is going to be able to more so isolate the Mutinous. It doesn't clear off the entire board, but it clears off enough. And also, I guess it would clear off the entire board if he wants to trade the Mutinous, which is fine. It also opens up room for the Troublemakers, plural. Having a clear board for these Troublemakers is important to try and get that damage push in. Alright.
Well, this makes it a little bit more susceptible to Silas.
Yeah, but no matter which way you do it, it's susceptible to Silas, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because the crab rider was,
Yeah.
I guess the parade leader. Yeah, no matter which way you do it.
Yep. Then,
No, parade leader to the left of the crab rider would have been. Nope, never mind. Wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
No matter which way.
Adventure and excitement await.
So Silas changes sides, but Fled has a lot more where that came from.
Yeah.
And the fact is that Luna still has to deal with a pretty sizable board. Oh yeah? Going just for the board clear? Then he wants to set the Troublemakers. Great recognition by Fled. Control Warrior should be struggling here in resource count. Until Archdruid Gnarlex comes to the hand. Dream cards could be really big.
I am so chaos.
Seen some really big ones come to the hand before.
It's like Ysera Awakens her bust against Troublemaker. I guess Dream is good to get rid of the buff, but then Flood would just play it again.
You gonna cry?
There's a ton of recurring damage. Honestly, Luna may not have a choice. Pick up off the top is Coerce. Okay.
Yeah, but it's a bad situation here. She's just so low on resources. And there's another Troublemaker. And this is where the extra top end really makes sense for a lot of the Rush Warrior decks. And while Drake comes into the hand, oh my gosh, conditioning. So much stats.
You're in my school now.
Big statistics.
Yep.
Cry.
Yeah, I think this might be a little too much here. No big AoE. Kargoth is okay, but doesn't solve this issue of the ginormous Troublemaker.
Yeah. Even if all 7 of the Eye of Cthulhu missiles hits the Troublemaker, still can't just Kargoth Bladefist, would have to tank it as well, and Fled. I mean, that's a tough matchup, and is able to take a win. That's a pretty big deal.
A huge deal. Rush Warrior is not favored versus Control Warrior. If you look at the matchups going into it percentage-wise, it's one of the hardest matchups, to go up against for the Control Warrior, but it's been slowly but surely turning around, right? Like, the thing about Rush Warrior is that I think people are getting better at playing it over time. And so what started off to be a matchup that could be kind of tough seems to be, with some of these new additions, better and better versus Control Warrior, to the point where maybe it's even favored against the Control Warrior in a lot of people's eyes. The data certainly suggests that to be the case, but I think the feeling was that Control Warrior just had too much removal for Rush Warrior. Not really anymore.
Yeah, to be fair, Luna is playing a pretty like greedy variation of Control Warrior that cuts a lot of removal, cuts a lot of the hard removal out in order to make room for more minions, right? N'Zoth, was there Ysera in there as well? Yeah, there's a lot of yeah, the OTK package, Soulbound Ashtongue, plus Silas Darkmoon, Crash, Mutinous, South Sea Scoundrels. There's one Coerce, one Bladestorm, one Minefield. Like, there's, if you look at it just straight up, there's not that much removal in the deck, period. A lot of it's pieces of combos of removal, like Lord Barab plus something in order to really get the job done. So if you look at just the way the lineup is constructed, the deck is constructed, not surprised to see that. Now Flood gets OTK Demon Hunter, and versus this type of Control Warrior, I don't think it really makes much of a difference. Has to be wary of South Sea Scoundrels. Bulwark timing is a pretty big deal, but even this type of minion-heavy Control Warrior is still going to get to the point where it's not pressuring you. Biggest thing for Luna, though, is that Mutinous. Mutinous can hit Il'gynoth. We're looking at a long, drawn-out, but very one-sided game in favor of Luna.
We'll see. Demon Hunter comes down, and now we see which Demon Hunter deck can continue to get the win and maybe get Fled. He's one game away. Fled is one game away from, in his first season of Grandmasters, make it to the top 4. One game away from making it 3 out of 4 players from South America, 2 from Argentina, 1 from Brazil, to make it to the semifinals. Making it a very unlikely scenario that a North American player is able to go through to the World Championship, because it would only be Muzzy as a lone player trying to fight off against South America. I mean, there's just a lot riding on the line. Let's go into it. Spectra Sight on 2 for Fled. Ooh, a good start.
Better be something
Yep.
good.
Pretty good hand, though, for Luna. Has Skull in pretty much an outcast position as well. Sneaky Delinquent into Razorfen Beastmaster, which will pull a Razorfen Beastmaster, which will then pull a Fishy Flyer. Maybe not always the case, but ideally.
I mean, this is what the deck does really well. Just give you more additional problems.
Yep.
And that's where the card draw aspect of this deck is really crucial. The deck's starting to flow a little bit. I mean, this is the kind of start that I've expected from the Demon Hunter. It could be that Luna's just been kind of running bad for a while. But this is looking hard to stop. Oh my goodness.
Oh, Emerald Drake. Ooh, Sigil of Flame. Flood could set up for... Yeah, I think
Skull.
this is just a setup for Skull next turn. Yeah, Philosophy, set up the Sigil of Flame. And I mean, this is quite the obvious setup, right? But... a necessity.
Both players setting up for the Skull in a very obvious preparation stage for both sides. The Boar and the Performers. Boar pretty much pulls everything from the hand.
Yep. Another Emerald.
2 Emerald Drakes.
Just big minions.
Yeah, but I think if you're Luna, you kind of want cards like Nightmare, stuff that really makes it hurt for Fled to leave up on the board.
Yeah.
In terms of the actual outcome, it's nice to at least have a dragon in the pool. Emerald Drake can give you a nice revive off of N'Zoth.
If the game lasts that long. At this point, I just don't think it's going to. It could, though. Flood's hand right now is just completely reactive. Nowhere close to the combo. Only has Il'gynoth. Which is, if you're talking about, you know, pieces of the combo that you'd want before you complete it, Il'gynoth's the one you want the least.
I like it, positioning around another Fell Screen Blast. Not that she expects Flood to use it, but just in case it ends up becoming relevant. Flood needs to find more sources to draw cards from his deck. Yes, he's drawn 16. There it is.
Chaos Strike.
Okay, Chaos Strike helps. We equip the Warblades. Chance. Oh my.
Got one turn.
Yeah. And this kind of game is much more reflective of, I think, what we were expecting. Just non-stop pressure up against some of the slower decks. Is Fledge is dead? Does he even have a way to clear off the Emerald Drake reliably that isn't just using his entire hand?
I grow impatient.
I don't think so. I think the only way he can survive is if he uses everything in his hand. That's not, you know, of course, the Il'gynoth.
I grow impatient.
I mean, it's actually not that far off lethal. It's 20 damage.
That's true. I didn't even count by like what happens if you use Il'gynoth and try to go for max damage.
Yeah, it's 20 damage.
What a difference a Moarg would make, I guess, in that situation.
You're paying for my discretion.
Okay, finds a way to clear the board without using too many to combo pieces. Holds on to Fell Screen Blast. This is one damage off lethal.
N'Zoth is the really scary thing too.
Yeah.
Not to mention, of course, just the weapon damage from hand. Yeah, there's just no way.
Not even gonna touch it. Nope.
That's gonna be a concede. Game number 4 is in the books, and we're going to game 5 to determine who is going to go to the top 4. It all comes down to the Warrior versus the Demon Hunter, a combo deck versus a very slow deck, and I would say that the Death Rattle Demon Hunter showed you what it can do if you give it a little bit of time to set up. But also, I feel like Luna finally had a curve that made a lot of sense. That wasn't like, well, it's nice that you have your curve, but I also have, you know, 2 Incanters flows. And it doesn't matter if you drew a perfect curve, I'm just going to destroy you.
Pay for my discretion.
Yeah. I'm trying to like work out if it. This is kind of giving me vibes going into the next game of Control Priest versus OTK Demon Hunter, where Luna has a very minion-heavy variation of Control Warrior with one like anti-combo card with Mutinous, which would be Mind Render Lucia if you're thinking about this as Priest. So there's some room for pressure, but it's rare. And then at a certain stage of the game, you're kind of looking at a single card to try and bail out. There's also the possibility of Silas plus Soulbound, but usually you don't ever have enough time to gain that much armor. Against OTK Demon Hunter, they're looking to kill you and draw their whole deck like at latest turn 11, turn 12, which is just not enough time to amass that much armor. South Sea Scoundrel could present some overdraw opportunities for Luna.
Whew.
But
There it is.
Fled's just going to be kind of operating on his own, playing some solitaire, trying to draw his deck. At least up until a certain point when Luna's minions actually factor in. South Sea Scoundrel, I feel like, is pretty good, if only because it's a 4-mana 5/5, right? And you can put something in Flood's hand that's a little bit awkward, right? If you play it on curve, you can put a skull there, make it awkward, or or Spectral Sight, right, in the middle of the hand to make it tough. 5/5 on 4 is hard to deal with for Demon Hunter. Could go with a pressure game plan. I don't think that's the main win condition for Luna, but it's definitely possible. Throws it away. Fair enough. Gets it back. Same spot.
Evil draws close.
Whew.
It all comes down to this. Game number 5. Flood starts off with a double jump. Can start immediately planning for the Skull Gul'dan on the far left.
Armor! Lightly used armor!
I wonder if there's another way that we're not thinking about, where if Mutinous or South Sea Scoundrel, like these kind of disruption opportunities, maybe Luna eats the last Moarg and then Flood doesn't have any more Moargs to copy because he used it aggressively to cycle.
Yeah.
I think there's just a lot more checkpoints to consider mentally before you commit to certain plays. Only time will tell, though. Fast couple turns here. Flood doesn't feel the need to play the Sigil of Flames. It's just an armor vendor right now.
Hmm.
Soulbound Ash Tongue. Not really that applicable here. Spectral Sight off the top for Fled. Turn 4, draw 2 cards, getting closer to the Skull Gul'dan possibility. Seems to be where Fled is leaning towards right now. Haven't seen it yet, but there is this funny dynamic that might exist where if you play Moarg to try to dump for hand space,
One for me.
gotta be careful.
For you.
Soulbound Ash Tongue might come down with the Silas, and all of a sudden you're taking double from the Shield Slam.
Yep. Pretty unlikely at this point. Yep. All right. Dump all the cards. Only problem here is that there's not even any hand space for the Skull. It's going to be 9 cards in hand next turn. So Flood's going to have another turn of hand dumpage. Plenty of stuff to be able to do so. Aldraka Warblades, Sigil of Flame, even the Ethereal Aug Merchant, right? Because at a certain point you have enough redundancy. You do have to worry about breakpoints a little bit more in this matchup because Warrior can get up to some pretty insane life or armor totals, especially when you're factoring in the Bulwark. If you just had one less card in hand, this would be nuts. Could play the Skull, dump a card.
Sets up the Aldraki and the Sigil. I wonder if on Luna's end, that's another cue to play
The second
South Sea Scoundrel again. But I don't... Not that I think she has even a better play. It seems like that's the only play from this point.
Yeah.
What now?
Gonna hold. Keep up that armor count. I mean, playing minions into the Sigil Flame doesn't feel great. So, I get it from Luna's end. Raging Fell Screamer. Fled is rocking back and forth. Kind of see that the nerves are ramping up.
Yeah. Also what Blythe does.
True.
Really wants to dump cards. Before
I guess he's mind. Yeah.
the skull for the South Sea deckhand. Or wants to play the skull on the right first, or at least give a chance to play the skull on the right first.
I think he also might be like trying to see if Luna would be playing Mutinous before he draws. Because it's coming up on 7, so Luna just plays Mutinous on curve, hoping to hit the random chance that Blood has the Il'gynoth. He doesn't see it.
Okay, ends the turn with 8 cards in hand as well. So no risk of the South Sea deckhand. Okay, Corsair Cash important for...
Huge.
That is massive.
Very big.
Because that was a 1 and 3. There's 2 Outriders Axe in the deck. And having the extra durability on the bulwark is just as big. The question is, like, when does Luna play it?
I wonder.
Because she could die as early as next turn.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about if I want to rancor this Body of Cthulhu again, just to reduce the amount of chances that there's stuff like that.
Yeah.
All combo pieces except for Ildar Studies. Oh, you know what? Luna could get off the Illidari Studies. Get a Glide.
Yeah, could get Glide. Could also
That would
get,
be
like, Star Student.
Devastating.
Star Student Selena.
True. Star Student Selena would also be very annoying. The reason why I think Glide is because it just sets Fled back in the card draw department. Still no Il'gynoth. Bottom 7 right now. Do you like card draw option number 1, card draw option number 2, or option number 3? Picks up the skull. Interesting. So he has to dump 2 more cards in order to get the skull going. You know, I kind of think Spectrosight is also worthy to consider there, but ends up going for the draw. Talented Arcanist. Moarg? That's not Il'gynoth. That feels a lot more comfortable drawing because he saw the 2 scoundrels as well, so knows that he can't overdraw on if he goes down to 9.
You're paying for my discretion.
Very liberal use of combo pieces. Feels like he can get there anyways because he has the 2 Moargs.
And double Talented Arcanist. That's a ton of damage.
Yes. It's
Just with double
damage.
Talented Arcanist, double Moarg. That's plus 4 spell damage, doubled twice. That's 5, double once, 10. Double twice, 20. 3 times, 60 damage.
There's a lot to consider for Luna. 1, is it the time to play Bulwark? To try and stall out? 2, is there any way that you can play around those possibilities? Like, do I play Illidar Studies?
What
Go for a Glider or Selena? If you do play the Bulwark, you kind of have to play Bladestorm too, right? You need to stop these little attacks from small minions. Or I guess Rancor makes sense. Time. It's time in Luna's mind. Still no Il'gynoth. Still no Il'gynoth.
Start swinging. Oh, Dreadlord's White, that's insane!
That is so good. So good. The Outcast being able to deal 1 damage to all enemies now has the Ilgonaut guaranteed next turn. Yeah, he almost
Play the Dreadlords by first. Oh my goodness. Okay, last 3 cards.
Oh, he's not going to draw
Last 2
because he
cards.
knows the Mutinous chance.
Mutinous as well as like fatigue.
True.
Because Silas. All right, looking for Glide. Nope.
It's got to be the Scissor Runner.
Never catch me.
Looking for Mutinous. Corsair cast doesn't really matter because she doesn't want to equip an Outrider's Axe. There's no real way to pressure.
There was, in the sense that Luna still has this Ash Tongue, and racking up armor is something to think about, but no Silas, no Shield Slam. So there's really nothing to play for. Yeah, I'm thinking that Fled has this almost guaranteed.
Still a couple turns.
Very close to it. Yeah.
Yep. Still a couple turns. And I think you draw with Corsair Cash, if only to get you 1 step closer to
Mutinous. Fled just has to draw the Ilgonath. Still no Ilgonath. Last card in the deck. Is this the lethal right here, though? I think he may have calculated it. I mean, these are 0-mana Moargs. Oh, the Dreadlord's
Bulwark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're right. The Bulwark of Azimuth.
What was that?
Legendary card.
And a legendary border. Ah. Not a Mutinous. So this is the last turn for or there's one more turn after this because Fled will peel off the 1 charge of the Bulwark next turn, and then the last turn will hero power to get rid of it on the turn that Fled combos, because there is way more than enough damage. It's double Moarg, double Talented Arcanist, Ethereal Aug Merchant. The only way he could mess up that combo if it's 8, 9, yep, Fellscreen Blast. I guess he needs a hero power, so it wouldn't be Ethereal Aug Merchant, so it would be 60 damage.
Well, Luna has to also make some room in her hand because of the
Triple Moarg.
Yeah, it's a ton of damage. Let's just assume that there's no armor account that Luna can go to. That would be enough. Kills her own Karga.
It's 120 damage, I think. Okay, last turn. This is it. It's got to be Mutinous.
It is not. Nope. It is not, just too slow.
I believe that is game.
Draws, and I think so as well. I don't see. I don't see I could go any other way. Is there anything that you can draw? No. Whoa. We can see Fled just kind of wigging out.
I mean, it's got to be a stressful situation because he hasn't been able to do anything for like 5 turns.
Yes,
and he's just waiting to see what Luna's gonna do. He knows that he has lethal in like in 4 turns or whatever when the Bulwark came down. He's just waiting to see if Luna can do any of the things that interrupt it.
No Mutinous.
And she
can.
can't.
Pass. Fled takes 2 fatigue.
Just has to not mess this up. Needs to hero power first. Bulwark's gone. I mean, Luna knows, right? Like, that knows exactly which cards are left in hand.
That's right. 3 Moards, Il'gynoth, Talented Arcanist. There's a ton of damage going north. And it looks like
Oh,
we
they're
have
awkward.
3 players from Latin America joining us in the semifinals. Fled from Brazil will round out the last spot in the semifinals with 144 damage to close it out. The 1-turn kill Demon Hunter. Flood has done it. The newcomer has made quite a statement appearing into our top 4 of the season. High five to whoever
To nobody.
he's aiming at right now. He's just like, yo, I did it. High five.
It
wait,
sounds like, get away from me! What are you doing? Oh man, that was a pretty insane last game. Having Il'gynoth be the very last card, but like just the tension, Bulwark of Azeroth buying so much time, but then Luna not being able to pick up any anti-combo anything. Right? It was basically just mutinous at that point, and even then, you could see how much damage Flood did. He had redundancy. So many minions kept in hand, it would have had to have been exactly Il'gynoth, even if the mutinous was picked up.